It's time for the real Jonathan Smith Show. This is Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? It's the real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Hopefully you have had a nice week. It's Friday. Happy Valentine's Day. In case you forgot, today is Valentine's Day. I got big plans tonight with my wife. I can't wait. It should be good. Should be fun. I may tell you about those later. We'll see. We got a lot to get to today. Indiana looking to keep it rolling tonight when they host UCLA. Tomorrow was Purdue has a big game hosting Wisconsin's trying to climb back atop the Big Ten. I've got a fun list Friday today that is Valentine's Day themed, and Zack Gray is set to join the show at 11:40, and it's going to be good. He's going to give out bets. You're going to make a bunch of money this weekend betting these games. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. So make sure you're tuned in the whole way tonight. Indiana playing host to UCLA, and I'm very intrigued to see what IU looks like tonight. More importantly, I'm intrigued to see how they handle the success that they have. Some people, when they have a little bit of success, they strive for a little bit more of if I can beat Michigan State, maybe we can beat UCLA. And if we can beat UCLA, then maybe we can beat Purdue. Maybe we can just go win the whole gosh darn thing. That's what happens to some people. Other people get a little fat. They get a little lazy. We beat Michigan State. Everyone thinks I'm pretty cool now. Think I'm good. If we beat UCLA, that's great, but we beat Michigan State, so we're all right. This happens to some athletes. I think a great example of this is DeAndre Ayton, who, if you don't know who that is, he was formerly the number 1 overall pick in 2018, taken in front of guys like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Luka Doncic. Okay, he was the number 1 overall pick to the Phoenix Suns. He was a part of that Suns team that lost in the NBA Finals to the Bucks. He was a part of the team the following year when they get beat in the second round by the Dallas Mavericks with a spot in the Western Conference Finals on the line. Okay, so that happens. Everyone gets super upset, specifically with DeAndre Ayton. They want him out. New owner shows up, trades him away, brings in Kevin Durant. The Suns have been worse ever since that happened, by the way. And so they trade DeAndre Ayton to the Trailblazers for a couple different reasons. Part of it is because he just didn't fit anymore. I don't think the guys liked him. And the other part of it is they didn't want to pay him the max. The Trailblazers, on the other hand, opted to give him max. They're like, you know what? Former number 1 overall pick. You're here. You're kind of away from all the drama. Let's invest in you a little bit, and let's kind of see what happens. And so DeAndre Ayton signs it. He signs this max contract, and he gets interviewed about it later. And here's his quote. He said, "I got nothing to prove in this league. I'm a max player, and I'll continue to be a max player." Imagine saying you have nothing left to prove after your 4th year in the NBA, and you hadn't won anything. You just signed a contract for a lot of money because most of these lottery picks, especially guys that go number 1 overall, usually sign a max deal no matter what happens because there's a lot of talent there. Forget winning a championship or making an all-NBA team. DeAndre Ayton was cool with just signing his max contract and going on about his business. And if you pay attention to the Portland Trailblazers, you'd know that DeAndre Ayton's not very good. That's a bit of a stretch. He doesn't play very hard. There's a reason why they drafted Donovan Clingan, number 3 overall, in this previous draft class. Okay, so, he went later than 3. I guess he would have gone 7th. That sounds right. Anyway, they drafted a center this year to replace him because the dude's just not very driven. Some people get whatever it is that they want, a big win, a max contract like DeAndre Ayton, and then they're just kind of cool. They're cool to just kind of ride off into the sunset. Some players are like that. They'll settle for doing a couple nice things and getting paid. That's what Indiana's done so far. They've done a couple nice things. They beat Michigan State. They're on the bubble. They're all making a ton of money. Okay, you know that they're walking around campus, getting all sorts of pats on the back. Girls are hitting them up like, "Hey, nice win." They're like, "Ooh, yeah, that's nice." And there is a chance that they get fat. There's a chance that they're like, "You know what? feeling pretty good about myself, and it leads to them not bringing it to their full capacity tonight against UCLA. Like, that is 1,000% in the playing cards because, I don't know, Mike Woodson isn't a Rick Pitino type where you just kind of know that his team's going to play hard no matter what. With that being said, I don't think Indiana is cool with just this. I don't think that they're going to get fat and just kind of be, on cruise control the rest of the way because they're still fighting to make the NCAA tournament. They showed us in that Michigan State game that this isn't a team that's going to roll over. They've got a little bit of competitiveness in them. They have a little bit of pride in what they're doing. But this is the first time in a long time for some of them that they're having legitimate success. Okay, like this is probably the first week all year or the first stretch of a couple days all year where they're walking around campus and people are nodding their heads at them, telling them good job, telling them that they can't wait to show up Friday night in Assembly Hall and watch them play. Like Trey Galloway and Anthony Leal and the guys and Malik Renew, the guys who have been on this team, haven't experienced that level of success since Trace Jackson Davis was here. That's just the reality of it. And so I'm very intrigued to see how they handle being successful. Because when you're successful at Indiana playing basketball, like you become pretty popular pretty quickly. I'm also interested to see if they run that zone again. Okay, they've had a lot of success running that zone. They had success with it against Michigan. They had a ton of success with it against Michigan State. The thing about UCLA and the team that they're playing tonight, they are a better three-point shooting team than Michigan State. They're around the same level of three-point shooting team as Michigan. They're shooting 35% from three this year as a team. Like, that's not bad. It's also not very good. Like in terms of college basketball, I feel like if you're shooting 37, 38% from three, then you're a good three-point shooting team. If you're at 35%, I think you're pretty average. Okay, so UCLA is an average shooting team. Their best player on offense, this 6'9" forward, he's a 43% three-point shooter on the year. So they've got a guy or two who can really shoot it, but we'll kind of see what they look like offensively. The point though is that UCLA is a little more balanced offensively than Michigan State. Because Michigan State we want to get the ball inside to our bigs. We want to get layups. We want to play fast in transition. We want our athletic guards kind of getting downhill, getting to the rim. Like, we don't want to shoot the ball because Michigan State can't shoot the ball. 29% from three on the season going into that game against Indiana. It's probably even lower now after shooting 17% from three in that game. Okay, UCLA, not like that. Like, they can shoot the ball. They are capable. They're not a great shooting team. Like, this isn't Purdue. This isn't Iowa. But they can shoot the ball. And their best offensive player, that 6'9" forward who shoots 43% from three, he's their leading scorer at around 14 points per game. You would think that he can operate in the middle of a zone, tall guy, not a terrible passer. Can he play in traffic? I don't know. That is yet to be seen. So I am interested to see if Indiana throws that zone out there because they're pretty big. They're pretty long. Like when you've got Galloway and Leal at the top of your zone with Mbako and Renew kind of playing the wings and then Omar Ballo underneath, like that is a big, long Jim Boeheim, Syracuse-like zone. Okay, that's long and kind of tough to get into the middle of. So I am interested to see if Indiana goes back to that zone because they've had success with it over the last three halves that they have played. Okay, now when we look at UCLA in this matchup, offense is not their strength. This is not a great offensive team. They are 15th in the Big Ten in scoring. That's, it's not very good. When there's 18 teams in your conference, if you're 15th, chances are you're not very good at whatever you're ranked 15th in. And for UCLA, it's their ability to score the basketball. They are not a great offensive team. But the reason why they've won 18 games on the season and the reason why as of right now they are predicted to be in the NCAA tournament is because this team can flat out defend. That is where they hang their hat. I don't know if you heard yesterday, but Mick Cronin went on Dan's show, and that's all he talked about. He talked about defense and how important that is to him. It was like, we got to defend. If we give up this many points on the road, then we aren't going to win. And, all that kind of stuff. That's where they hang their hat. on the defensive side of the ball. And it works for them. They're only giving up 65 points per game. That's crazy. Like that is a good defensive team. That leads the Big Ten, actually, in points allowed per game. The thing that I'm very intrigued to see is if UCLA can handle Indiana's size. Because Indiana's big. Like they just are. Like when you run, Galloway, Leal, Mbako, Renew, and Ballo, like the shortest guy on the floor for them is 6'5". Like that's they are a big basketball team. And when you look at UCLA, they are not. 6 of UCLA's 7 leaders in minutes are guards. They have one forward who plays over 20 minutes consistently. That's the 6'9" kid who shoots 43% from three. He's more of a perimeter player than he is a guy who can get in underneath and bang with Omar Ballo or Malik Renew. How is UCLA going to handle Indiana's size? They've got one center. He's 7'3", plays about 12 minutes a game on average. Now, 2 things on that. One, Coach Cronin mentioned him a little bit yesterday. His name's Adi Amara. He's from Spain. And Coach Cronin said that he's kind of coming along a little bit. When he's on the floor, they're better, but he's a sophomore who's still kind of trying to get the hang of things. So I'm very intrigued to see how much Coach Cronin and UCLA are going to play Mara tonight. We'll kind of see what they wind up doing. But he's a legitimate center, 7'3", can block shots, do all those things. Now, their guards are rather large. Like they have a 6'8" guard, a 6'7" guard, a 6'6" guard. All 3 of those guys play a pretty decent amount. Okay, so even if they're not big at the center and power forward spot, man, like they've got just really big guards, which is fine for Indiana because they have big guards as well. So the thing that I'm intrigued to see for UCLA tonight is how does this Adi Amara kid compete? How does he hold up against a senior and Omar Ballo, who's an absolute beast underneath? How does he compete with Malik Renew, who's, probably like 6'9", but just really crafty around the bucket? How does he hold up against him? So it's going to be interesting because if that guy can play, if the Adi Amara guy can hold his own and play, 25 minutes tonight for UCLA, then things will be much tougher on Indiana. But if he can't hold his water, then this seems like a game that Indiana should win just because they're bigger. They should control the glass. Omar Ballo should get a ton of easy buckets. Malik Renew should get a ton of easy buckets. The game should look very similar to what it looked like against Michigan State the other night. Slow down the pace, give the ball to Omar Ballo or Malik Renew on the block, and then just let them go score. But the only way that happens is if the Indiana guards can actually control the game like they did against Michigan State. That, to me, was the most impressive thing watching Indiana play against Michigan State. Yes, Malik Renew and Omar Ballo both got double-doubles. They played great. But Indiana won that game because of their guards and their ability to control the pace of that game, to make sure that the bigs got the basketball in spots where they could score. Okay, and the other thing that's very important to remember about that game is, Indiana going into that game against Michigan State turned the ball over more than every other team in the Big Ten except for one. Okay, they only turned the basketball over 9 times in that game against Michigan State. Miles Rice played 36 minutes, didn't turn the ball over once. Trey Galloway played 24 minutes, only turned the ball over once. Okay, now if they can continue to do that, if those 2 older guards can just continue to control the game and not turn the basketball over, then they're going to have an excellent chance at winning not just this game against UCLA, but every other game going forward. Mick Cronin yesterday on Dan's show talked quite a bit about the defense and how important that is for them. And they're an excellent team on the defensive side of the ball. And Indiana is going to need every possession possible to win this game because, as I said, UCLA is an excellent defensive team. There's a case to be made that they are the best defensive team in the Big Ten. So it should be an incredible matchup of Indiana's size and UCLA going a little bit smaller. How does UCLA hold up on the glass? How do they deal with Omar Ballo and Malik Renew posting up? I'm assuming we'll see them double the post and live with Indiana, shooting threes, but we'll kind of see what they wind up doing. So, there's pros and cons to each style of play. Like, obviously Indiana should have an advantage on the boards. They should be able to post up and do the things that they want to do, because UCLA is going to struggle to deal with their size. Because as we know, like, no matter what happens, Coach Woodson, he's playing Malik Renew and Omar Ballo together. That is undoubtedly going to happen. I do kind of hope that they bring Renew off the bench again. I do think that that's good for them, gives their bench a little bit more of a punch. But yes, UCLA is going to struggle to deal with Indiana's size. But how is Indiana going to deal with UCLA's speed? Like, if Malik Renew is having to defend a guard, then like that is a favorable matchup for UCLA. So I can't wait to see how these contrasting styles match up. Okay, Indiana is a 1.5 point underdog at home, and I made a rule a couple weeks ago, and I think I'm going to break it. I said that I would never put American currency on IU. Okay, like that's what I told myself. I was like, I'm not putting American currency on Omar Ballo because he's fat, he's lazy. But like ever since I made that rule, like they've played really well. They have. So I think I'm gonna break that rule tonight. I'm gonna take Indiana plus 1.5 at home. They've got me believing again. Like they look good. They've played hard these past couple games. Like they've had opportunities to kind of roll over and throw in the towel. They haven't done that. Playing with a little bit of pride. They're a little bit more competitive than normal. So we'll kind of see how they do. I'm going to take Indiana tonight plus 1.5, even though I don't really love it. But as I said, like they've been playing better here as of late, and we'll kind of see how they do going forward. Purdue currently in a battle atop the Big Ten, trying to win the Big Ten Conference. Once again, that loss to Michigan is just going to make things really tough on them to win it outright. They host Wisconsin tomorrow, which is going to be a very tough game for them. Wisconsin is not an easy matchup for Purdue in the slightest. Wisconsin scoring the ball a ton this year. They can shoot it. They're deep. They play like 8 or 9 guys. They can all really play. They're a problematic matchup for Purdue, and I'm going to tell you why when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
Unfiltered takes live here. The Real Jonathan Smith Show. This is Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
The Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Hopefully you're having a nice week. Happy Valentine's Day. Don't forget, grab your wife flowers or whatever after you get off work. That's what I'm doing. I got a great wife. We're going to have an awesome night tonight. This is how I know my wife's great. We were sitting down on the couch earlier this week, and we were talking about Valentine's Day. And I was like, what do you want to do? And she was like, I don't know. She's like, can we just get like a heart-shaped pizza and go watch a movie? I was like, we can absolutely do that. That actually sounds wonderful. And so that's what we're doing. We're going to go see that new Captain America movie tonight and eat a little Lou Malnati's. It's going to be and it's just an absolutely amazing night. I can't wait. Anyway, can't wait for tomorrow either because we got college hoops, a pretty nice slate. For me, it's headlined by that team up there in West Lafayette who just kind of keeps finding a way to win, despite not having a ton of offense outside of Trey Kaufman-Wren and Braden Smith. Of course, we've also got number 1 versus number 2 in the country tomorrow. Can't really wait for that either. Auburn playing against Alabama. The game's going to be awesome to watch. Can't wait. But Purdue playing host to Wisconsin. There are going to be a ton of points scored in this game. Ton of points scored. Okay, Wisconsin averaging 81 points a game. Purdue averaging 78.5 points a game. Both of these teams can absolutely fill it up. Both of these teams can shoot the ball. Both of these teams can score inside. I mean, these are just two very well coached offensive teams. They're both shooting 37% from three on the year as a team. Okay. So I can't wait to watch this game because I like watching great offense. And I think that that's what we're going to get in this game. Okay. Purdue, I think they're going to struggle a little bit in this game because of how good a job Wisconsin does at not turning the basketball over and the size of Wisconsin. So let's start with the turnovers. Wisconsin turns the basketball over the second least amount in the Big Ten. And when you look at Purdue and you look at their formula as to how they win these games, outside of Braden Smith and Trey Kaufman-Wren, they just don't have a ton of scores in the half court. Fletcher Lawyer can get hot for a half. We saw that in the first half against Michigan where he scores 10 points on 4 of 6 shooting. But for these other guys, like Miles Colvin and CJ Cox and Jakari Harris and Caleb First, they need easy buckets to kind of help out in the scoring department. And I think a lot of those come in transition. And things for Purdue just get a little bit tougher when they don't force turnovers, especially when they're the smaller team and they kind of struggle to rebound. They're towards the bottom of the conference in rebounds per game. And Wisconsin has a size advantage at every spot. Every single spot, they are going to be bigger than Purdue. Pretty similar to when Indiana played Purdue. They were bigger at every single position. And for Wisconsin, they're going to run Stephen Crowell and Nolan Winter out there. They're both playing a pretty solid amount of minutes. That's 2 7-footers. And, so they're a little bit, smaller there when they're going to have Caleb First and Trey Kaufman run on the floor. And Wisconsin has pretty big guards as well. With that being said, Wisconsin's not a great rebounding team. You would think that they would be because they're a pretty big team just in general, but they do have the size advantage over Purdue, which has been a weakness for Purdue this year. They lost to Michigan because they lacked the size compared to Michigan. Indiana controlled a lot of that game against Purdue because of their size. Seriously, that's why Indiana had a chance in that game late. They grabbed, I think, 8 offensive rebounds in that first half, scored a bunch of second chance points. So they're, just small. That's kind of been Purdue's issue. And Wisconsin not only has big bigs, but their guards are pretty large as well. The ones that actually play are all 6'4" or taller, with the exception of Kamari McGee, who's only 6 foot. The rest of them, though, much larger than Purdue's backcourt. They are going to be smaller than Wisconsin at every single at every position. And that spells issues for Purdue. Okay, because Braden Smith, awesome. People love him. best point guard in college basketball, best point guard that one Michigan coach has coached against since, Steph Curry, all that good stuff. But when does Braden Smith struggle? Braden Smith struggles when there's legitimate size on him and when there's athleticism on him. And he's going to be smaller and probably less athletic than whoever Wisconsin decides to employ on him in this game on Saturday. Okay, they're playing at 1 o'clock. I am going to take Purdue. That's where I'm at right now. The line isn't out yet. I think they'll be favored by a few points. I'm just going to take them, though, because they're at home, and Mackey Arena is a tough place to win. I am intrigued to see kind of how they try to deal with the size of Wisconsin and just the way that they're going to spread Purdue out. It's going to be an interesting matchup, but I am going to take Purdue because they're at home, and it's hard to pick against Purdue when they're at home. Now, something else that's happening this weekend is the All-Star break, the NBA All-Star weekend. It's happening this week. And, there's a little less excitement for me this year, in part because it's just not in Indy. It's all the way out in San Francisco. Those poor NBA players have to spend a weekend in San Francisco. I feel terrible for those guys. But I think the other reason why I'm not excited is just because the events aren't really that great. Like the dunk contest is just a bunch of rookies now that people aren't super familiar with. Dunk contest probably won't be great. The 3-point contest is kind of entertaining. I wish that Steph Curry was doing it this year because it's in San Francisco, and I think it would make it better if he was in it, but he's not doing it. The skills challenge is meh. Like when people talk about All-Star Weekend, they don't even talk about the skills challenge. But the one thing that they need, and the thing that I think would headline All-Star Weekend above everything else, is a one-on-one tournament. Like that would be amazing. Because let's be honest, they're doing a different format this year for the All-Star game. Like I think they've got like multiple teams and it's some bracket kind of thing. I don't love it. Like I just, it's like it's whatever. They had Shaquille O'Neal, Charles Barkley, and Kenny Smith all draft these different teams and they're all themed. It's just like it feels like they're doing too much. That's what it feels like. I want a one-on-one tournament because I want to watch the best basketball players in the world do what they do probably after every practice, and that is play one-on-one. Like that is what I want to see. It would be the most popular event at All-Star Weekend. Okay, and one of the biggest issues that they have in the NBA with All-Star Weekend is getting these guys to play hard, getting these guys to be competitive. Like the All-Star game's terrible. The All-Star game's terrible. It just is, because guys are just kind of lollygagging around and, they're dunking everything and they're throwing up, shots from half court, which is cool. I guess it's cool for like 5 minutes. And it's like, okay, like this is what it's going to be. I think I'm good. If they did some sort of one-on-one tournament, I think that we would actually get to see these guys compete just a little bit. Okay, because I think that's really that all we want to see as fans. Like we just want to see the best players in the world. That's what All-Star Weekend is supposed to highlight. I think we just want to see them play hard and be competitive. And I think that if they held a one-on-one tournament, that we would actually get to see that, because players don't care about the All-Star game itself. Give them something to care about. A one-on-one tournament, $1 million prize to the winner. Okay, play by ones and twos, 2-11. That would be way more entertaining than anything else that they have going on this weekend. It would be. Just like, imagine, like it's like, and just like the contrast, I would find so interesting as well. Like, imagine if it's like Giannis playing against, let me think of a guard, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That to me at least would be absolutely fascinating. That'd be awesome. Just watching the contrast of like bigs playing against smalls and how they both, kind of try to problem solve whatever the other opponent's strengths and weaknesses are. I think it'd be, like I said, absolutely entertaining. It'd be better than any dunk contest or three-point contest, because there's nothing more pure, I guess, in basketball than one-on-one. You're going to try to stop me, and then later I'm going to try to stop you. I think it would be just an absolute moneymaker from an entertainment standpoint, which is something that the NBA needs, right? Because like there's been a lot of talk and conversation this year around the ratings and how people aren't super tuned in. And I think a one-on-one tournament would get people tuned in. It would introduce people to some of these younger stars that we don't really get to see a ton because TNT and ESPN love to put Steph Curry and LeBron James on their TV on their primetime nights. That's just the reality of it. So I think that would be an excellent addition that I think players would be fired up for as well. Got a big show today. Already talked Indiana and UCLA. I'll probably talk about that game again at 11. Zack Gray, who hadn't been on in the last couple of weeks, he's set to join the show at 11:40, where he's going to give out some bets. We'll probably talk a ton of college basketball because that is in full swing right now. Can't wait to watch Auburn and Alabama play this weekend. That game is going to be nothing short of spectacular. That's obviously not the only good game. Wisconsin is playing at Purdue. That game should be a lot of fun. Houston, they're playing Arizona. That game should be a ton of fun as well. So those are kind of the three headliners for the weekend. And then, of course, obviously we've got UCLA taking on IU tonight. So Zack Gray, he's going to join here in about an hour to give you bets that are probably going to win for this upcoming college basketball weekend. It is Valentine's Day. So, we had to do something, Valentine's Day themed. When we come back here in about 4 minutes, I've got a nice little fun list Friday, Valentine's Day themed. Can't wait to get into it. It's coming your way here in about 4 minutes.
The best takes. The Real Jonathan Smith Show. This is Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? The Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Hopefully you're having a nice week. It is Friday. It's also Valentine's Day. Make sure you pick up your wife or girlfriend some flowers or something. Don't forget. Thanks for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy's Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there, subscribe. Watch the live stream there. Jump in the chat. Be part of the conversation. Maybe you're listening via that Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you download your apps. Or maybe you're just watching on Twitter or X, the everything app. You can follow me there, _ Jonathan Smith. You can also follow the station, Ticket 1430, to get all the updates on my show and the Dan Dockett Show. As I said, it is Valentine's Day. And here on the Real Jonathan Smith Show, not every Friday, but most Fridays, we do this thing called Fun List Friday. And it's just a fun list, something sports related. And today, being Valentine's Day, I wanted to highlight the best relationships in sports. And I wanted to highlight the worst relationships in sports. So it's two, I guess, kind of separate lists, same thing, 5 on each. So let's start with 5 of the best. They're probably not the best. Once again, if you want to head over to YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket, and kind of throw in the chat some of the other better relationships in sports, that would be greatly appreciated. So number 5 on the list, we're going to go with Matt Painter and Purdue basketball fans. I don't think that relationship could be any better. Purdue fans love Matt Painter, as they should. Okay, he's one of the best coaches in the sport. Okay, they're coming off their third Final Four in their history. Their first one since 1980, when Joe Barry Carroll was leading the way. Good player for the Houston Rockets, by the way. Also, do you know where he's from? Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Go Hogs. Anyway, Purdue fans couldn't be happier with Coach Painter right now. And you should be. You just went and played for a national championship. You have a good team this year. Feels like a second weekend team at a minimum. Can you maybe find your way to the Final Four this year? Maybe, if you get a good draw and you can avoid an Auburn or a Florida or just a big athletic team. If you can do that, then they'll have a decent chance to make a nice little run to the Final Four. So Purdue fans should be more than happy with Purdue head coach Matt Painter right now. Number 4 on the list, Curt Cignetti and IU football, or fans in general. Okay, no one cared about Indiana football. Absolutely nobody. And rightfully so. I mean, it's the losingest program in the history of college football. Okay, so Indiana fans had every right to not care at all about IU football. But then this guy shows up. And he stands, at half court of Assembly Hall. And he goes, Purdue sucks. Michigan sucks. Ohio State sucks. It's great. It injects a little bit of energy and a little bit of life into that program. He gets upset that people are leaving at halftime. And it's great. And what makes it even better, what I think makes the relationship even more special, is that no one outside of Indiana fans like Coach Cignetti, which makes it so much better. He's kind of obnoxious. He's a bit prideful, a bit arrogant. He's kind of a prick, but he's your prick, right? Which makes it all the better. Indiana now is in a place where it seems like they're going to win 9 games a year with him as their head coach at a minimum. Maybe they get a schedule like they did this year where they win 11 because they don't have to play anybody that's great outside of Ohio State. And when that happens, then, you can make the NCAA, then you can make the college football playoff and you can upset every SEC fan along the way. So Curt Cignetti and Indiana football fans has to be on this list. Next on our Fun List Friday, some of the best relationships in sports. Chiefs haters and the Eagles, I think, have a fantastic relationship right now. Okay, the Chiefs haters, they are so glad that the Eagles were able to beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. And it's not just that they beat them, it's that they beat the brakes off of them. That game was never in question. It's great for now, and I think, all the Chiefs haters out there are very, very happy about what transpired in that game. But I am very intrigued to see how they react next year when they can't just blame officials when the when the Chiefs win, because it's obviously not rigged anymore. So just very, very funny. I think Chiefs haters are going to cling to this memory for a long time, just like how the people who hated the Patriots in the 2000s when they were winning all of their Super Bowls cling to Eli Manning beating them twice. It's pretty great. So Chiefs haters and the Eagles have a pretty solid relationship right now. Next, Dodger fans with their front office. This Dodgers front office is doing what every sports fan in every professional sport, and I guess college sports now too, are doing. The Dodgers are buying everyone and deferring salary. It's honestly great. They have the best lineup in baseball with some of the best pitchers in baseball. They're the betting favorites to repeat as World Series champions. I don't know how you don't pick them. And the Dodgers front office is doing what every team in every sport wants their team to do. Like, they are just spending money out the wazoo. Like, they are clearly committed to winning, right? Because, every organization talks about how they want to win games. Jim Irsay tells us every year that he wants to win games with the Colts and, how that, is above all else. But it's like, not really, because the Colts never spend all of their available money. Okay. Like, they don't do that. The Dodgers, however, say, yeah, we want to win absolutely, positively every single game that we play. We want to win 110 games a year, and then we want to go win in the postseason. And then they go out in the offseason and they trade for Mookie Betts, and they pay for Shohei Ohtani, and they pay for Freddie Freeman, and they pay for that new pitcher from Japan whose name I'm currently blanking on. Like, they go out and they actually put their money where their mouth is. Dodger fans, win, lose, or draw, like you have to be happy with your franchise and their willingness to actually spend the money to be good, because there are plenty of franchises in sports that talk about wanting to be good, but then they don't actually spend the money on it. Number one on this list is NFL fan bases with young quarterbacks, more specifically rookie quarterbacks, because every fan base loves their new young quarterback. Because if you have a new young quarterback, it's probably because you were bad the year prior. Okay. And they give you just like a little bit of hope. Like, every Bears fan loves Caleb Williams. Okay. They do. Even though he wasn't great this last season, it's all Matt Eberflus's fault. Blame it on him. Couldn't be Caleb Williams' fault. Commander fans love Jaden Daniels for very obvious reasons. He took him to an NFC Championship game in year one. Denver Bronco fans love Bo Nix because he got him to the playoffs, even though he's kind of limited. And I'm very intrigued to kind of see how he develops over time. When Anthony Richardson was first drafted here, most Colts fans were very excited, right? Because they symbolize hope of potentially a new day where you actually win football games on Sunday, right? They give hope to your NFL team or your college team, whoever you like, but most of those relationships sour over time. But the beginning is always nice. It is always nice. So those are 5 examples of the better relationships in sports. If you have any that come that come to mind, then let me know. You can tweet at me at _ Jonathan Smith, or you can head over to YouTube, Indie Sports Ticket, subscribe there, and hop in the chat and comment them there as well. Flipping it now on its head, staying with Funless Friday. These are the worst relationships in sports. Some of these are obvious. Some of them, I don't know. Maybe I got a little too heady. We'll see. Number 5 is the Dallas Mavericks front office and ownership, their relationship with their fans. I don't know if you've seen this or not. So, obviously, Mavs fans are super upset. They traded Luka. Okay. They've been voicing their upsetness, and they do it at games, and like they're, removing fans who are calling for Nico Harrison to be fired, and they aren't letting people wear shirts in that say anything about firing Nico Harrison or selling the team or anything like that. Mark Cuban is sitting down on the ground floor telling people to, shut the, F up and to sit the F down, all that stuff. And it's, for me, I find it very funny just because, These Mavericks fans are relentless. They're holding protests outside of the stadium. It's incredible. Okay, so Mavericks, their front office and ownership, they've got some work to do to kind of restore that relationship. Number 4 on the list is the city of Oakland and professional sports. Oakland used to be a vibrant sports town. The Oakland Athletics, the Oakland Raiders. Okay, the Warriors used to play in Oakland. All of them are gone. Every professional sports team in Oakland has left. The Warriors now, they moved their arena to San Francisco. The Raiders, they're in Las Vegas. The A's are going to be in Las Vegas soon, but they're playing in Sacramento this year. Like they just couldn't, they couldn't wait until their stadium in Vegas got built to move. They're like, no, we are out of Oakland. We're going to go play in Sacramento this year, or probably for the next 2 years, because, we don't want to deal with being in Oakland anymore. They got out of there as soon as they could. And I got to be honest, I don't blame them. Oakland or California in general is just not a very desirable place to live. So Oakland and professional sports teams makes the Funless Friday list of the worst relationships in sports. Next on the list is casual college basketball fans and Dan Hurley. People who don't like Dan Hurley, I do not understand. He is everything that is awesome about college sports. I love that guy. Okay, college sports and professional sports are different. Professional sports are built around the players. College sports, it's about the coaches, because players, especially now, are transferring in and out. Even if they stay for their entire career, they're only there 4 years and then they're gone. College sports are about the coaches. They are about the coaches and kind of who they are as characters. Okay. And Dan Hurley is an incredible character. He is incredibly intense the way that he coaches. He complains relentlessly. He taunts fans on his way off the court. I don't know if you saw this or not, but they beat Creighton and he's walking off the floor and, he's got, fans are yelling at him because they're on the road and he's looking up in the crowd. He's like, two rings, Baldy. It's great. I find it incredible. I find it very entertaining, which is what sports should be. Okay. I am a fan of any player or coach that simply makes sports more interesting and more entertaining. Okay, so for the fans who don't like the intensity and stuff, grow up, because this is what sports are. Okay, like the dude's fiery and competitive. He's one of the best coaches in all of college basketball, but people hate him because he's a sore loser and he's a sore winner. When I find it to honestly be great. It's fantastic. Either you love him or you hate him, and I feel like most people hate him, which I think is great for the sport of college basketball. Next on the Funless Friday list of the worst relationships in sports, Joel Embiid and Paul George's relationship with playing games. It's amongst the worst. Okay, like for some reason, Joel Embiid and Paul George are just like, you know what? I don't want to play basketball anymore. I've lost my love for the game, or they've lost their joy, as Jimmy Butler would say. Paul George has uploaded more podcast clips to his YouTube channel in his time as a 76er than he has field goals made as a 76er. Pretty incredible. That guy does not play games, and when he does play games, he does not play well. Simple as that. And then you have Joel Embiid, who ever since winning the MVP has missed 80 of the 76ers' 136 games over the last 2 seasons, or I guess season and a half. He got his accolade. He got his own personal recognition. And he was like, I'm good. I never want to play basketball again. I just want to sit in street clothes, courtside, make a whole bunch of money, and then kind of go on about my day. I don't know what happened, but that guy doesn't want to play basketball anymore for some reason. I don't know. I like playing basketball. I try to play every Saturday because playing basketball is fun. Number 1 for this Funless Friday, worst relationships in sports. The Colts and their relationship with the one and only Pat McAfee. I don't think I need to go into a ton of depth on this. Zaire Franklin, said some not so great things about Pat And then Pat McAfee went on his show and was like, trade everybody. And he called everybody out by name, just like, trade Anthony Richardson, trade Zaire Franklin, trade John, like everybody. He's like, the only people they should keep are DeForest Buckner and Quentin Nelson. Trade everybody else. Get them out of town. And from, so yeah, McAfee, the Colts, they do not like each other. Zaire Franklin, Pat McAfee goes crazy on his show. Zaire Franklin then does the whole fake handshake thing because, McAfee and his boys, like they've got a box like on the field and it's like literally on the field. And, Zaire Franklin walked over to it because it was empty and he did this like fake handshake thing. It's not good. Like I think this is worse for the Colts than it is for McAfee because like McAfee is an important guy for the Colts. He's a powerful guy for the Colts. He gives them a national brand. Like without Pat McAfee, the Colts are regional. Okay, people in the state care about them. Maybe there's fans in like Iowa. Maybe there's some in Eastern Illinois who are Colts fans. But outside of that, like that's kind of it. Like those are the people who care about the Colts. Pat McAfee gives them like a national presence, and yeah, I think that's an important thing. I'm assuming that here at some point McAfee and the Colts will make up. It'll probably be after Zaire Franklin and a lot of these players in this regime are gone. We'll kind of see. I'm very intrigued to see how he covers them this next season, if he even does at all. So those are the best and worst relationships in sports. A little Funless Friday, Valentine's Day edition. That's right. It's Valentine's Day. Do not forget, because I know some of you out there most definitely forgot. Tonight, we got more college hoops. Indiana playing host to UCLA. Can't wait to talk about this game. Can't wait to talk about how Indiana handles success and all of those important things. My thoughts on Indiana, my concerns for Indiana tonight when they host UCLA are coming your way here in about 4 minutes.
It's time for the real Jonathan Smith Show. This is Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? The real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Hopefully you're having a nice week. Happy Friday. Happy Valentine's Day to all those who are celebrating. If you forgot, there's your reminder. Thanks for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy's Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there, subscribe, hop in the chat, and be part of the conversation. Maybe you're listening via that Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you find your apps, or maybe you're watching on X, the Everything app. Coming up here in about 40 minutes, my guy, Zack Gray, professional sports gambler, he's going to join the show, and he's going to give out some nice winning bets, as he usually does on Fridays. Maybe he'll have a number for you tonight for Indiana and UCLA. I hope that he does, because I find this game to be very interesting. I think we're going to see a nice, interesting clash of styles. UCLA is small. Indiana is rather large. It should be a lot of fun to watch. And the one thing that I'm very intrigued to see from Indiana is, how do they handle success? How do they handle it? Okay, some people want more. You know, they win a big game and they're like, you know what, this feels pretty good, you know, but I would like to do this again. I would like to make the NCAA tournament and maybe a Final Four and all that good stuff. Some people get fat, though. It happens. You know, they feel pretty good with a little bit of success, and they're like, all right, like, I'm cool. That was nice. And then they just kind of go on about their day and their lives. Like a great example of this is DeAndre Ayton, who was, you know, the number 1 overall pick in 2018, was a part of that Suns team that lost in the NBA Finals to the Milwaukee Bucks after going up 2-0. The Suns decide to run it back the following year. Same guys, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, dominating, as he likes to call himself. He played that year with them. They lose in the playoffs in the second round to the Dallas Mavericks, with a spot in the Western Conference Finals on the line. Right, that's back in 2022. After that season, the Suns are done with him. They're like, you know what? He's kind of weighing on people. People don't really love him a ton. So it's like, yeah, we'll move him. Matt Ishbia buys the team, trades away Ayton, brings in Kevin Durant, and the Suns have been bad ever since. And so the Suns trade him to the Trailblazers, in part not only because he was kind of weighing on people, but also because he was due the max, and they didn't want to pay him the max. So the Trailblazers were like, we'll give you the max. And they're like, yeah, sounds great. So DeAndre Ayton signs this max contract. And after signing it, he has this quote, which is just incredible to me. He says, I got nothing to prove in this league. I'm a max player, and I'll continue to be a max player. And that was it. I have nothing left to prove. And there are some people, some athletes who are wildly talented who think this way. You know, like, forget winning a championship, forget making an all-NBA team, or for, you know, Indiana's purpose here. Imagine being like, yeah, we beat Michigan State. I have nothing left to prove. You know, forget making the NCAA tournament or anything like that. Like, that happens to some players and some teams. Like, for DeAndre Ayton, he just wanted to make his money. You know, he wanted to you know, be paid a max, show up in the NBA Finals once, and then ride off into the sunset. Some players are like that. You know, they'll settle for a couple nice wins, you know, be on national TV a little bit, gain some notoriety, get paid, and then, like, they're cool. And when you look at Indiana, like, you really sit here and tell me that that's not what just happened this week? They just went on the road. They beat Michigan State. They're rock stars on campus right now because, you know, people joke about Indiana being a football school. And for me, like one of the most intriguing things, like, if I was to coach college basketball, is like, I would want the Indiana job because it is a basketball school. Like no matter how great Indiana football is, it will still be a basketball school at its heart. And you know that they're walking around campus, getting nods from everybody, some nice pats on the back. That NIL check hitting the bank account just feels a little bit better. You know, like, they're probably feeling themselves a little bit. Like, there's a chance that Indiana gets fat off of this win against Michigan State, and they kind of not roll over, but they just don't come out super focused tonight. Like, that is a full possibility. I don't think that that's what's going to happen because they're still fighting to make the NCAA tournament. Mike Woodson, every time he talks about them just making the Big Ten tournament. So, I don't think that they're going to get fat off this win and just kind of cruise into their next game against UCLA. But if it happened, I don't think I'd be very surprised because I don't find Mike Woodson to be the most motivating guy ever. We've seen Indiana have nights where they aren't super engaged and they don't play very hard. Like, we've seen it. And like, if we saw it tonight, like, it wouldn't be the most surprising thing in the world. Okay. So I am intrigued to see how they handle the success. Do they play with the same energy and effort that they played with against Michigan in the second half and against Michigan State when they went down like 10-3 in the first 2 minutes? Like, do we see them continue to play hard like they did in those games? Okay. Like, this is the first time they've had legit success in quite some time. Like Galloway and Leo, like, they haven't, like, they've won one NCAA tournament game. That was 2 years ago. Like that's it. Like Omar Bala was at Arizona last year, and they disappointed. I believe that they got bounced in the round of 32 or in the Sweet 16. Like, they didn't advance as far as everyone kind of thought that they would. So how do they handle success? I am intrigued to see how they do that. I'm interested to see if they run zone tonight. Because, like, they had success with that zone against Michigan in the second half. They had a ton of success running zone against Michigan State in their most recent game. It's why they won the game. Now, the thing with UCLA, I think it's going to be a little tougher to zone them because they're a better three-point shooting team than Michigan State. They're pretty average in that regard. They're shooting 35% from three as a team this year. Like, that's not a great percentage. It's not a bad one either. Like, 35%, I would argue, is pretty average for a college basketball team. So 35% from three as a team is pretty solid. Okay, UCLA, a little more balanced offensively than Michigan State. Okay, like UCLA isn't only going to score inside like Michigan State, the worst three-point shooting team in the Big Ten. They were shooting 29% from three going into that game against Indiana. It's probably low. It's got to be lower now because they shot, 4 of 21, 17% from beyond the three-point line in that game. And UCLA is not going to shoot 4 of 21 from three. I would be very surprised if that happened tonight. Okay, they can actually shoot the ball, and their best player offensively, the guy who's leading them in scoring, I would assume can play in the middle of a zone, even though after talking to Dockich throughout the week, just hearing kind of like how like there are some guys who can't play in the middle of a zone. Like he's like, you would have thought that Cody Zeller was great in the middle of a zone, but for some reason he was not. Like, he just couldn't play in traffic. And this Bilodeau kid, the leading scorer for UCLA, he's 6'9", shooting 43% from three. Like, the kid can score it. He can shoot it. You would think that he'd be a good fit in the middle of the Indiana zone if Indiana decides to play that tonight. But we'll see. What does it look like if Indiana goes zone? How does it look? We'll see. I don't know. I kind of hope they play it because they look good. Like, you would think that this Indiana team would do well playing a zone just because they're just a really big team. Like, they are. Like, you've got, Renew, Ballo, Leo, Galloway, and Mbako on the floor. Like, your shortest guy is 6'5". Like that is a team that you would think would have some success playing a zone. So do they go zone? How does UCLA deal with it? We'll kind of see. I'm also interested to see, like, can UCLA handle Indiana's size? Like, Indiana's size is their, I think, biggest advantage. It's just about every game that they play. It gives them a chance. And when you look at UCLA, they're not very big. They have one center. He's 7'3", plays 12 minutes a night on average. Mick Cronin mentioned yesterday, though, on Dan's show that the kid's kind of figuring it out. He's a sophomore. He's from Spain. Adi Amara is his name. So, he's kind of coming along. I think he played like 30 minutes against Illinois. So there are some games where he plays a lot, some games where he doesn't play a ton. So, like, how much does he play? UCLA is really big at their guard spots. Like they have a 6'8" guard, a 6'7" guard, and a 6'6" guard that all play a pretty decent amount. So they're big in their backcourt, but like their front court just isn't. It's just not very big. Like they play a forward and four guards a lot of the time. But then again, when you have size at the guard spot, it allows you to do that a little bit more. So how much do they play that center? Because unless that 7'3" kid is on the floor, like they don't play with a center. They just don't. So this feels to me like a game Indiana should win. I think they should control the glass. I think they should play a pretty similar style to what they did against Michigan State, where they really slow the pace down. Because like that game was just a knockdown, drag out, walk it up the floor, throw it onto the block, see if Ballo can get a good look. Oh no, he can't. Okay, let's reverse it. Malik Renew, your turn. Can you get a good look? Yes. Okay, there's 2 points, and we ate up 25 seconds of the game in that one possession. That is what this game should feel like. Indiana should control the glass, double-digit offensive rebounds because they're going to have the size advantage. Omar Ballo should get a ton of looks on the block. Malik Renew should get a ton of looks on the block. The question with this, though, in this style of play, it is directly dependent upon the guards. Can the Indiana guards control the game like they did against Michigan State? Malik Renew and Omar Ballo got a ton of credit for that game against Michigan State, as they should have. They both had double-doubles. Malik Renew got several big buckets when Indiana needed it. Omar Ballo did an excellent job, defending the rim and rebounding and doing those important things. But Indiana beat Michigan State because of their guards. The Hoosiers only turned the ball over 9 times against Michigan State. Going into that game, they, on average, turned the basketball over more than every other team in the Big Ten except for one. Miles Rice didn't have a turnover in 36 minutes. If Miles Rice does that every game, if he plays 35, 36 minutes and he doesn't turn the ball over, he will continue to play a bunch. Trey Galloway only turned the ball over once in 24 minutes. If they can continue to do that as Indiana's primary ball handlers, then they're going to have a great chance to win tonight. And every other game that they play. Indiana needs every possession that they can get because this is a team that's going to score a lot of twos, not a lot of threes. Okay, and they especially need them tonight because Mick Cronin talked a lot about the defense that his team plays. Okay, Indiana is going to need every possession possible because UCLA is an excellent defensive team. They're the best defensive team in the Big Ten, only giving up about 65 points per game on average. That leads the Big Ten. Okay, so can they score? Can they, hold on to the basketball? Can they avoid turning it over? How does UCLA deal with the size of Indiana? How does Indiana deal with the speed and quickness of UCLA? Because, yes, obviously, UCLA is going to struggle with Indiana's, UCLA is going to struggle with the size of Indiana. But how does Indiana deal with UCLA and the speed and the quickness that they possess? How do they deal with that? Because that Coach Woodson is going to play Omar Ballo and Malik Renew together. What's going to happen. How does Malik Renew do having to defend a guard? Because we're going to see UCLA go 1 forward and 4 guards, and we're going to have to kind of see how that plays out. So I kind of like it for Indiana because if Malik Renew's on a guard and he gets beat off the bounce, then Omar Ballo's just underneath, what's up, man? Let me block this shot into the third row. So I'm intrigued to see kind of how does that contrasting style of size kind of line up. Indiana is a 1.5 point underdog. Great. I made a rule last week about not betting on Omar Ballo, and I might break that rule tonight. I'm still not sure. If I had to make a direct bet, if I had to bet the game, I think I'd take Indiana plus 1.5. They looked really good against Michigan State, and I found myself asking, did they look good or did Michigan State just play bad? I don't know. I don't think UCLA has the size to really deal with Indiana. UCLA is not a great shooting team. Like they're clearly capable. So I think I'm going to take the Hoosiers. They've got me believing again. They're at home, coming off a big win. I think Assembly Hall is going to be absolutely rocking because Indiana fans, whether you like Mike Woodson or not, like you want this team to be good. Like you want something to believe in, something to hold on to because you haven't had a consistently great team in the last 20 years. And so any source of like this is good um is great. And so I'm very intrigued to see the atmosphere tonight and the size discrepancy between these two teams. When we come back here in about 4 minutes, Purdue is going to play host to Wisconsin tomorrow. Big game. Michigan is currently sitting atop of the Big Ten conference. Purdue trying to win the conference once again. They need to win tomorrow if they're going to make that happen. But it's an incredibly challenging matchup for Purdue with this Wisconsin team coming in. I'll tell you why when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
The best takes, stories, and entertainment. It's The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket. 1430 AM and 99.5 HD2.
The Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Hopefully you're having a nice day. Thanks for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in. Whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket, if you want to head over there, subscribe, watch the stream there, hop in the chat to be part of the conversation. Maybe you're watching on Twitter, _ Jonathan Smith. And at Ticket 1430, you should follow both of those accounts, or maybe you're listening via that Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you find your apps. You know, the most entertaining, the best version of baseball started today. College baseball, its opening day is today. And if you don't watch college baseball, you absolutely should. It is a million times better than the Major League Baseball product. Less games, guys care. There's a lot of emotion, bat flips, pitchers striking out dudes and then strutting off and staring down. It's great. It is an amazing product. And so if you've never watched college baseball, you should do that this year because it's a fantastic thing to watch. Speaking of fantastic things to watch, Purdue basketball. It's glorious. It's great offense, good screens, guys playing hard, everyone being where they're supposed to be, everyone knowing their role, right? It's why they score a ton of points. It's why Purdue averages 78.5 points per game. That's a lot of points in college basketball. And they're playing a team in Wisconsin who scores even more than them. 81 points per game. That's right. Purdue, Wisconsin, that game should be a ton of points. That game is tomorrow, 1 o'clock, CBS. Can't wait to watch it. Shout out to YouTube TV and Paramount for figuring out their whole TV ordeal, which means I can watch March Madness and I can watch the good old Purdue Boilermakers play basketball tomorrow. Both of these teams can absolutely fill it up. Both of these teams can score the basketball. They both shoot it very well. They both score on the interior. And it's going to be just a blast to watch these two offensive juggernauts go at it tomorrow. They're both shooting 37% from three on the year as a team. And look, like when you as a team are shooting 37% from three, like then you can really shoot the basketball. And I can't wait to watch this game tomorrow. I think Purdue's going to struggle. But at the same time, like they have Braden Smith, who's going to be the best player on the floor. They have a guy in Trey Kaufman-Wren who, if he stays out of foul trouble, is going to score a boatload of points. So they're going to have a chance because they're Purdue, and they have a chance to win every game that they play. With that being said, Purdue is going to struggle a bit in this game. I have no doubt about it because for two reasons. The first one being that Wisconsin just doesn't really turn the ball over, and Purdue is a defense that I'm not going to say that they rely on turnovers because that would be probably a bit much. But at the same time, I would say that they're obviously much better off when they force turnovers because they aren't very large. They don't have a ton of rim protection. They're at the bottom of the Big Ten in blocks per game. So they need to force turnovers just to make getting stops a little bit easier because, like I said, they just don't have the rim protection for it. Okay, Wisconsin turns the ball over the second least amount in the Big Ten. And Purdue, with the way that they, run their offense and how, efficient they are in scoring, if they can force, 15 turnovers, like they're probably going to win that game. And when they don't force turnovers, things get a little bit tougher for them, especially when they're undersized and they're the smaller team. Wisconsin is bigger than Purdue. They are. Like they've got two 7-footers and Stephen Crowell and Nolan Winter, who are both playing a pretty solid amount of minutes for Wisconsin. Like when they're both on the floor together, because they're capable of doing that, like they're going to have a massive size advantage. And this has been the thing with Purdue all year. They just really struggle dealing with size. They really struggle with it. It's why they lost to Michigan the other night. Okay, Michigan got into the lane whenever they wanted with their 2 7-footers, and Purdue fouled a lot. That's what happened because they don't have the size to match up with them. They struggle with Indiana because Indiana was just like, we're going to grab every offensive rebound in the first half just because we're bigger than you are. And obviously Purdue made the adjustment in the second half. They rebounded the ball much better, and they were able to pull that game out. But when teams are bigger than they are, they struggle a little bit. Okay. And Wisconsin is bigger than them, not only in the front court, but they're bigger than them in the back court, which spells, not, let's call it some trouble. It spells a little trouble for Braden Smith, because Braden Smith is like 5'11", 5'10". And when you put size on him, things just become tougher for him. Okay. Like every guard, except for one that Wisconsin plays, is going to be 6'4" or taller, with the exception of Kamari McGee, who's only 6 foot. The rest of them, though, rather large, especially compared to Fletcher Lawyer, who's probably like 6'1", and Braden Smith, who's 6 foot. And they're probably going to start CJ Cox as well, who's also like 6'1", 6'2", maybe. So how are they going to deal with the size of Wisconsin? We've seen them do it. This has been a problem for them all year. So like they're going to have a game plan for it. It's Matt Painter. You know that he's going to have those guys revved up, ready to go, and always in the right spot. But I am intrigued to see how Braden Smith deals with the size, because we've seen him struggle with that this year. He struggled with it against Texas A&M. He struggled with it against Auburn. With that being said, A&M and Auburn just have a different level of athletes than Wisconsin. So maybe it's not too big of a deal for Braden Smith, but I am intrigued to see how he deals with it. I think Purdue's going to have some problems with Wisconsin just because of the lack of size. And, unlike Indiana, Wisconsin can actually shoot the basketball. So it's going to be intriguing. I'm going to take Purdue. I don't like it. They're 5.5-point favorites. That line just came out not really all that long ago. But they're 5.5-point favorites, and I'm only taking them because they're playing at home. And Mackey Arena is a tough place to win. It'll be rocking, battling, trying to get back atop the Big Ten, which is a little bit closer, a little more clustered at the top than I think people realize. Obviously, Michigan currently sitting atop the conference, with that win over Purdue earlier in the week. Purdue's half a game back. They're 11-3 in the conference, followed by Michigan State, who's only a game back. But Wisconsin's 9-4 in the conference. Like, they still have a puncher's chance at winning this thing as well. So, Wisconsin's going to be revved up and ready to go, trying to get back into the picture to maybe win the Big Ten, and so Wisconsin and Purdue should be an outstanding game tomorrow. That game at 1:00 on CBS, where the Purdue Boilermakers are a 5.5-point favorite. The other thing going on this weekend in the world of sports, in the world of basketball, because, if you've listened to the show for really any amount of time, you will quickly realize that I freaking love hoops, love basketball. Okay, especially the NBA. Warriors, Rockets last night, really fun game to watch. Mavs, Heat, came down to the end. Max Christie getting buckets late. It's great. Khalil Ware playing pretty well for the Miami Heat right now as well. But, no real basketball in terms of the NBA over the weekend, because the All-Star break has officially begun. And, we now get to sit through All-Star weekend, which I don't even know if I'm going to watch. And usually I do. But let's just be honest about this. The dunk contest is awful now. It is. The guys who participate in it aren't great. A lot of them are, not a lot of them, but like they've got G League guys doing it now, and there's a bunch of rookies doing the dunk contest this year and all that kind of stuff. And I just, it'd be cooler if like Anthony Edwards was doing it and like the legitimate stars of the NBA. The other thing is, like, a lot of the dunks have already been done before. Like, it's just like, there's only so many dunks that a human can perform. And so it's not the same. So like the dunk contest isn't great. The 3-point contest is kind of entertaining. They're supposed to do another WNBA NBA crossover, and that's not happening. I think Caitlin Clark said no, which is, good for her. She doesn't have to do what the NBA wants her to do. But I think they were trying to do some like Sabrina Ionescu and Caitlin Clark versus Steph and Clay. And Caitlin Clark was like, nah, I'm cool. I don't really want to do that. Which is, like I said, good for her. She didn't have to do that. So like that's not a thing this year. Steph Curry's not competing in the 3-point contest, which I'm kind of surprised by because All-Star Weekend's in San Francisco this year, where the Warriors are playing. So, like, that's not the same. They do that skills challenge every year, which I don't think anyone has ever watched. So, like, what is the solution, right? There's been talk over the past couple of years about how, the All-Star game, it's not very competitive. It's not great. It's not a good product. All-Star Weekend for the NBA is terrible. No way around it. The best way to fix this, though, is a one-on-one tournament. All-Star Weekend needs a one-on-one tournament. That would be amazing because we want to watch these guys, the best basketball players in the world. Like, we want to watch them be competitive. And I think if we had them do a one-on-one tournament, that they actually would be. I think it'd be fascinating. Because these guys, like, believe it or not, they are competitive. They want to win, especially one-on-one. Like, there's just something special about it that brings a little something extra out of guys when they have to play one-on-one. That's at any level. Like, you get two 6-year-olds out in your driveway playing one-on-one, and it's going to get heated because that's just what happens when you play one-on-one. And I think we would actually get to see players play hard during All-Star Weekend if they implemented some sort of one-on-one, tournament. Because, like, let's just be honest, like the players don't care about the All-Star game itself. Give them something to care about. Give them a one-on-one tournament. The winner gets $1 million. That would be way more entertaining than anything else that we're going to see all weekend. And I think it'd be awesome just to kind of see these great offensive players, because that's what they are, all of them, even the ones that are like labeled as 3-and-D guys. No, those guys can go score it. I think it would be just super fascinating to watch them try and figure out whoever's guarding them. Like, imagine if we got, like a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Giannis, like, one-on-one matchup. Or if, Jokic was playing LeBron in one-on-one. Just, like, imagine, like, Jokic trying to figure out, like, okay, like, I know how I'm going to score. I'm just going to kind of, like, back him down and hit all these little baby hooks. But, like, how would Jokic guard LeBron? Like, that, I would just find that so intriguing. I think it would be incredibly entertaining as well. So I think a one-on-one tournament, get eight guys in there. That's 3 games max, right? 8, 4, and then 2. Yes, like that's 3 games max. Have them play to 11. Just roll the ball out there and let them go at it. So, yeah, like, if you want to fix All-Star Weekend NBA, there is your solution. Let's do a one-on-one tournament. Basketball in its purest sense. When we come back here in about 4 minutes, it is Valentine's Day. My guy Zack Gray was supposed to join, but he's got a meeting, and so he won't be joining. I am going to see, though, if he'll send me his bet. That way I can share that with you guys, because he's awesome. He does an excellent job betting college hoops and everything else that goes on with it. So when we come back here in about 4 minutes, I've got a nice little Funless Friday, Valentine's Day themed, and hopefully I'll have a bet for you from Zack Gray at some point before the show ends. We'll be back here in about 4 minutes.
Unadulterated sports talk with unfiltered takes. It's the real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM and 99.5 HD2.
The real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Thanks for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy's Sports Ticket, if you want to watch the stream there. Maybe you're watching on Twitter, _ Jonathan Smith. If you want to watch there, you can also follow the station at Ticket 1430 for all the updates on my show and the Dan Dockett Show, which is live from noon to 3 today, or maybe you're listening via that Indy Sports Ticket app. No matter how you're listening, I greatly appreciate it. Happy Valentine's Day. Hopefully you and your significant other have something planned. I know me and my wife do. Wife's the best. We're going to the movies. I was just like, yeah, like let's do that. That sounds great. No fancy restaurant or anything like that. Just a nice good time where we hang out. It's going to be good. In honor of Valentine's Day, I do this thing on my show. It's called Fun List Friday. And it's just a list, something sports related, a little more fun, a little more lighthearted. And today, in honor of Valentine's Day, I wanted to do the best and worst relationships in sports. So I've got 5 of the best relationships and 5 of the worst. Let's start with the best relationships in sports. Matt Painter and his relationship with Purdue fans. Couldn't be better. Couldn't be stronger. For 2 straight decades, they've just been having a great time. They're coming off their 3rd Final Four in school history. First one since 1980 when Joe Barry Carroll was leading the way. Do you know where he's from? Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Go Hogs. Anyway, Purdue fans couldn't be happier with Coach Painter right now because this is they're a really good basketball team. A number 1 seed in the tournament 2 years in a row, play for a national title last year, and then this year, look, they're obviously not as good because they lost Zack Gray. But Braden Smith, best point guard in the country. If they get a good draw in the NCAA tournament, they could potentially go back to the Final Four. It's a very possible scenario for them. Now, obviously, if they run into a Florida or an Auburn, just teams with big athletic guards, then they'll probably struggle a bit. But if they can avoid, like I said, they need a good draw for this to happen. If they can avoid that, then I think they have a pretty decent chance at getting back to the Final Four, as long as they avoid teams like North Texas or Fairleigh Dickinson. So we'll kind of see what kind of draw they get. But this is the best Purdue has been consistently under Matt Painter, and those Purdue fans are having a blast with it. Number 4, highlighting the best relationships in sports. It's Kurt Cignetti and these IU football fans. He just showed up. He stood at midcourt at Assembly Hall and was like, Purdue sucks, Michigan sucks, Ohio State sucks, and we're going to win right now. And that's exactly what he did. It changed everything. Indiana fans did not care about football, and rightfully so. They were the losingest program in the history of the sport. And Kurt Cignetti shows up and is just like, you know what? We're going to win now. And, he's a bit of a prick. He's kind of, he runs his mouth a lot. He does. Kind of not exactly like Danny Hurley, but kind of in the same realm. I don't think he's quite as over the top, but he's your guy who does that. And when he's your guy, for some reason, it makes it all the better. All the better. Indiana seems like they're going to win 9 games a year with him as their head coach at a minimum, which is great for Indiana. It's great for my show, so I love it. Number 3 is the Chiefs haters and their newfound relationship with the Eagles. Okay, Chiefs haters, I know you're just overjoyed with the fact that the Eagles won that game. It's great for now, but what do they do next year? Seriously, when the Chiefs are really good again, are you going to go back to blaming the referees? No, you're not going to do that. You're going to go back to that memory of the Eagles curb stomping Mahomes and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. C. Fitch, loyal listener of the show and the Dan Dockett Show, he tweeted at me earlier, and it's a clip of Travis Kelce talking about the loss in the Super Bowl, asking if we think he's going to retire, just asking if he thinks he's going to retire or check out. I don't know, man. The dude's just sad because he lost in the Super Bowl. I don't know if he's going to retire or not. It really doesn't matter to me one way or the other, whether he plays next year or not. If he does, that's great. If not, then that's fine too. The second, or number two, just highlighting some of the best relationships in sports. If you have any, feel free to send them my way, _ Jonathan Smith, or you can watch the YouTube stream, Indie Sports Ticket, if you want to comment your idea there. Number two, Dodgers fans with their front office. Like, the Dodgers are buying everyone and deferring every salary. They have the best lineup in baseball with some of the best pitchers in baseball. They're the betting favorites to repeat as World Series champions, and I don't know how you don't pick them. Okay, like, this Dodgers front office is doing what every sports fan in every sport, just what every sports fan wants for their favorite team to do, and that's spend a bunch of money on good players. Like, that is what they have done. You know, like, they go out and they trade for Mookie Betts, and then they go out and they pay for Freddie Freeman to come play for them, and they go out and they pay for Shohei Ohtani to come play for them. Like, they're just like, oh, you're a good player, we're going to spend the money on you. And there are plenty of organizations in professional sports who stand at a podium and they say, we want to win. And then they don't spend the money required to go out and win. The Colts. And the Dodgers are the total opposite of that. They invest their money in every good player because they actually want to win. They actually want to win the World Series. It's a crazy concept, but usually if you go pay for good players, then you win more games. It's kind of crazy how that works. So, Dodger fans, even if you don't win the World Series this year, like, you should be overjoyed with your front office, their ability to manipulate the cap, postpone, paying players, and, find a way to win right now, because that's literally what every sports fan wants for their favorite franchise to do. Number one, highlighting just the best relationships in sports. NFL fan bases with their new young quarterbacks. Every fan base loves their rookie quarterback that they took in the first round and probably drafted too high. Okay, you at least like them a little bit because of the hope that they symbolize. Like, the Bears love Caleb Williams. They do. It's like, he wasn't great his rookie year. Yeah, but as Matt Eberflus's fault. It's not Caleb Williams' fault that he held on to the football for too long consistently this year. Washington Commander fans, like, they clearly love Jaden Daniels because, he's, took him to an NFC, NFC championship game in his first year, which is wildly impressive. Bo Nix fans, or Denver fans love Bo Nix because he took him to the playoffs, even though they got crushed in that game. And I don't know, he's kind of limited. We'll kind of see how he develops under Sean Payton. Patriots fans love Drake May. The kid was a Pro Bowler. Pretty great. So, they figure out, fans do. They figure out every way, every reason why this new rookie quarterback is going to save their franchise. Most of those relationships sour over time, but the beginning's always nice. It always starts off on the right foot. Continuing with this idea of relationships, we're now going to flip it, and we're going to highlight some of the worst relationships in sports. Funless Friday. Today's Valentine's Day. Don't forget, get your wife some flowers or something. Yeah, it's good. Anyway, Funless Friday, the worst relationships in sports. Number 5, the Mavs front office and ownership and the relationship with their fans. I don't know how much of this you've seen, but like, Mavericks fans have been voicing their opinions like crazy. Some of them have been removed from games for voicing their said opinions, wearing a Fire Nico Harrison shirts. Like, they don't let you wear those into games. If you mouth it while you're on the fan cam, they apparently escort you out. You got Mark Cuban telling people to sit the F down and shut the, all that good stuff. Like, it is just not good. It's brutal. Mavericks fans aren't stopping. There's like protests outside of American Airlines Center. People are canceling season tickets. Apparently the Mavericks are like refunding the people who are canceling their season tickets. It's almost like they made a mistake in trading away Luka Doncic. Whoever thought that would be a mistake, I have no idea. But yeah, not a great time going on down there in Dallas. Number 4 for Funless Friday, the worst relationships in sports. Number 4 is the city of Oakland and sports in general. The A's are gone. the Raiders are gone, and the Warriors are all gone. Every professional sports team that was in Oakland has left. The Warriors, built a new arena in San Francisco. The Raiders are playing in Las Vegas. The A's are set to go to Vegas, but their stadium in Las Vegas isn't even built yet. And they're like, nah, we're good. Let's go to Sacramento. Let's play where our AAA team plays this year. They couldn't wait to get out of Oakland. And so I feel bad for the city of Oakland. Like, that was a really good sports town. Like, a lot of people there were invested. They did that reverse boycott before the A's game where they sold it out, even though the A's were clearly trying to lose on purpose. And so it was just, I feel bad for the city. But yeah, all those teams were like, nah, we're good. We will see you later. Another bad relationship in sports is just casual college hoops fans and Dan Hurley. Like, all Dan Hurley's really done at UConn these past couple of years is win. And when you win a lot, people stop liking you. And when you win a lot and you're loud and obnoxious about it, then people definitely don't like you. I love Danny Hurley. That's kind of where it's at for people. They love him or they hate him. I love the intensity. I love the chip on his shoulder. I love the fact that he complains, and when a referee turns his back, he says, don't turn your back on me. I'm the best coach in the effing sport. I love all that, but most people don't. He's a sore loser. He's a sore winner. I love that he walks off the court at Creighton and starts talking about how he has 2 rings, and he calls another guy bald, even though he himself is bald. It's great. College basketball, especially, is about the coaches and how interesting they are, and having these fiery coaches on the sideline, I think, is a great thing for the sport, but there's plenty of people out there who do not like him. Number 2 on the list of some of the worst relationships in sports is Joel Embiid and Paul George's relationship with playing basketball. For some reason, they just don't like to play basketball. Fun fact for you, Paul George has uploaded more podcast clips to his YouTube channel in his time as a 76er than he has field goals made as a 76er. He doesn't play very often. When he does play, he doesn't play very well. It's kind of sad, but it's really not surprising either. Ever since winning the MVP, Joel Embiid has missed 80 of the 76ers' 136 games since he won the MVP. He got his accolade, he's got his money, and he's just kind of like, yeah, who cares if I never play in an Eastern Conference Finals? So I don't know what happened to the guy, but he doesn't want to play anymore. The 76ers are bad. They're not even in, like if the playoffs started today, they wouldn't even be in the play-in. They are 11th in the Eastern Conference. Okay. The only guy who consistently plays for them is, the one and only Tyrese Maxey. Really good player, but you need a little more than Tyrese Maxey if you want to make the playoffs, apparently. Last one in terms of the worst relationships in sports, the Colts and Pat McAfee. I don't need to go into a ton of depth on this. Zaire Franklin said some things. Pat McAfee said trade everybody, Zaire Franklin especially. And it's just kind of funny. And, they do not like each other right now. And it obviously gets capped off when Zaire Franklin walks over to Pat McAfee's booth when he and his boys aren't there after all of this went down. And he does the whole fake handshake thing, like they're all there even though they're not. And that goes viral. And then Pat McAfee gets even more upset. And it's not good for the Colts, especially. Like, Pat McAfee's a powerful guy in the media. He kind of takes the Colts to another level brand-wise. He talks about them every week on his show because he played for him for a long time and did a pretty good job playing for them. Because these other programs, ESPN, whatever, like they're not talking about the Colts, and so this really hurts the Colts more than anything else. We'll see them reunite and make up here at some point. Probably after Zaire Franklin's gone and a lot of these other guys from this regime is gone. So that is the last one when we highlight, the worst relationships in sports. Happy Valentine's Day. Do something cool for your significant other. I know I got plans tonight with my wife. It's going to be an absolute blast. I can't wait. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to tune into the Real Jonathan Smith Show. I'll be back on the air Monday, maybe. I don't know. I'm technically off. I don't know what I'm doing yet. So I'll be back Monday or Tuesday live from 10 to noon as normal. The Dan Dockett Show is on from noon to 3. Have a nice weekend. Make a whole bunch of money. Last thing before I take off, my guy Zack Gray texted me bets for tonight. He says to take, or for the weekend, he says to take Yale minus 15.5 and take San Jose State plus 7.5. Take both of those, and you'll probably make a little bit of change. I will talk to you on Monday starting at 10. The Dan Dockett Show comes your way here in about 5 minutes.